Next one, eternal vigilance is the price of liberty. And by the way, look, we can say that about our country, right? But let's not forget about ourselves. That's another way of saying discipline equals freedom, right? It's another way of saying it. You want to keep that freedom, man, you got to stay vigilant. You got to not let things. The thing that I like about the term vigilance is that you got to stay vigilant so you don't get surprised. Look, you get catastrophically hit with something, that we know that. But what happens is those little things, those little creepers that start taking away your freedom a little bit at a time. One donut at a time. It's going away. Got to be careful. Evil doing costs more than doing well. Yeah. Those little shortcuts you think you can take that are going to save you some time, save you some money, they ain't. Evil often triumphs, but never conquers. Again, this is like a short-term win. Doing something that's not 100%, short-term win, long-term loser. Evil minds change good to their own nature. And there's another theme in here from these things. And what I like, this is like goes back to the lens thing. Like if I'm evil and you're doing something, I'm looking for why the evil reason that you're doing it. So I look around the world and I change things to fit my own narrative because I'm a bad person. And that happens too often. Evil conduct is the root of misery. Sure. You're doing bad things. It's going to catch up with you. External sheep, internal wolf. As you can see, it's one of the few that I highlighted, right? See that? External sheep, internal wolf. This is another tangential connection to this is discipline and no compromise and no mercy. All those things, which I say a lot, I only say them about myself, right? I'm not going to compromise with myself. I'm going to impose discipline on myself. And the way you carry yourself. Externally, like a sheep. Internally, like a wolf. Now, in this day and age, there's a lot of people that carry themselves like wolves. Right? There's like a lot of people that what did Craig Jones? Craig Jones had a great little clip that I saw, of course, but it was talking about videos. It was talking about videos of apex predator animals and Navy SEALs and ice baths. And basically it was a bunch of people externally acting as the wolf. And he was making fun of that, rightfully so. So what this is saying is, be cool. Be quiet and carry a big stick, right? Externally sheep, internally wolf. You ever approach someone or been confronted by someone and you said to yourself, oh, this person looked like a sheep and I can see now that they're actually a wolf. That happens. In Jiu-Jitsu, when you tie up with someone, you immediately know what is happening. Even if the person is, like Jeff Glover, 150 pounds. When you tie up with him, if you didn't know anything about this dude, but you knew jiu-jitsu, you would tie up with him and you'd go, oh, there's something going on here. External sheep, internal wolf. That's how it is. That's how it should be. Same thing when you get some of this big jack dude just freaking walking around like the alpha and you tie up with him, you're like, dude, ain't happening. Ain't happening. Now, it's hard to do that on the regular in jiu-jitsu, like, because you can be a big, tough, alpha acting dude, and you can't get away with that for more than a couple days on the mats before you go, I thought I was alpha. I'm not. Externally, sheep. Internally, wolf. Next one. Falsehood is cowardice. Truth is courage. Tell the truth about what's going on. False in one thing false in everything. That's very similar to that. Have you ever heard the expression, the way you do anything is the way you do everything? Very similar, right? Very similar. And that's a good thing to keep in mind for the little things that you have to do on a daily basis. Just the little things. And it's a good thing to keep in mind when you're dealing with someone else and you start to see things that are not in line with what we're doing. Because if they're false in one thing, it's a reasonable assumption to make that they could be false in other things. Maybe not everything, but at least other things. Some of these proverbs are extreme, meaning everything or nothing. And I'm not an everything or nothing kind of guy. So even this one, false in one thing, false in everything, I'd be more like false in one thing, could be strong possibility false in some other things. So definitely true. Maybe it's not to the extreme that you're false in everything. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. Yeah, no doubt about that. Fortune makes a fool of him whom she favors too much. Fortune makes a fool of him whom she favors too much. So you get lucky once and you start counting on that luck. You got to be careful. You got lucky once, bro. Don't think you're going to get lucky every time. It ain't happening. My uncle was a car salesman and he had a small car lot where he sold used cars. He's retired now, but he had his own little car lot, probably had 10 to 15 vehicles for sale at any time. And he had some buddies that he was friends with and that kind of hung around the car lot with him. And one of his friends won the lottery back in the 80s.
Dang.
And won, I don't know what the number is, but the way they do the lottery, if you win the lottery, they take that whole bunch of money. And maybe sometimes I think you can choose a lump sum or you can choose to get paid out over time. I think the lump sum is a little less. Anyways, this individual chose to take the payment over time. And it was something like 20 years, maybe even 30 years. But it was 30 years and it calculated out to like, I don't know, 30 grand, 40 grand a year. So he'd won millions of dollars. And he had won it in his early 20s. And dude, don't quote me on the details of this, but I'm giving you the overall concept of the story. The dude had won millions of dollars, paid out over time. It ended up being 30, 40 grand a year. And so he didn't really ever have to work. And he just lived off this money. And what he did was he hung out with my uncle a lot on the car lot and hung around and, whatever. And so my dad was down there and went to the car lot and was, saying hi and whatever. And the guy was there. And he was like, well, this is my last year of getting the money. And next year I won't be getting my checks. I won't get my check for winning the lottery. And my dad said, well, what are you going to do when the check stops coming in? And the guy says, I'm going to win again. So just be careful, right? You get lucky once, you may or may not get lucky again. And if you think you're going to get lucky and you count on luck, we can't count on luck.